you already know that we gotta do it. That's right, everybody wants to dress up and make their Sting faceplate look as good as possible, but not me. I want to look ridiculous, because I know I can't match up to Sting, and after watching AEW Revolution, warm and fuzzy in my tum-tum. I mean, if you want some emotional up to 2-9, you gotta check this out. Let's up those downs. We will get into all of that as well, but of course we have to talk about our first match. It was Daniel Garcia versus Christian Cage for the TNT title. Now this shows how much I know, because there was super shenanigans during this, but I predicted that Adam Copeland was going to come out, cause his fake brother to lose, and Danny would now be the champion. Well, just to catch you up to speed, none of that happened. Christian is just the worst person though, because after vaulting into the ring, he was like, no, my ankle. Because Garcia is a good guy, he believed him. That was like believing me when I tell you I shaved my head because I think it looks good. And of course, Cage went, ha ha, and he started to beat Daniel up. So Garcia was like, all right, well, karma's a bitch, boy. And then he did start working over Christian's leg. Cage was hurt. At one point too, Christian was making sure he threw Daniel Garcia in the ring because he didn't want to win by countout until he was in a panic. And then he started to try and win by countout. This is when Nigel McGuinness on commentary flipped on a dime. Because obviously during round one, he was like, well, what a fighting champion it is. And as soon as he was going to win, via a count of 10, he was like, smart tamale. I love it. At one point too, the patriarchy was making all the noise. The ref was like, I don't know what I'm doing. This is when Killswitch grabbed Garcia. He gave him a choke slam, and Christian hit the splash of the frogs. Of course, he got a 1-2-ooh. Matt Menard then decided he'd try and help his fake son, but that didn't work at all, because he got wrecked by the dinosaur, which is when Cage went for the spear. His leg did actually stop working, so Danny hit him with a pile driver. And I tell you, I bet on that one, I thought he'd won, he didn't. By this point too, all of the goons were going absolutely crazy, so Shayna Baszler then cast distraction. This official has gone to the official wrestling school of refereeing, because they just went, oh, I forgot what I meant to be doing. Nick Wayne slammed Daniel Garcia, Christian hit the kill switch, and he retained that title. What an absolute goober. So he did go exactly the opposite to how I predicted, because I thought Garcia would be the champion, but he does have a get-out clause here. I was super duper screwed, and in terms of an opening match, let's get it up. Lacey there then tried to get some words from Bryan Danielson and Eddie Kingston, but they were so mad they didn't have much to say, which meant it was time for our Continental Classic title match. This was just awesome too, because the Greenboro Coliseum loved these guys, and they were split right down the middle, and of course Eddie is just the best underdog babyface ever. Whereas when it comes to Bryan, but he comes across like an insane person. They also instantly just smashed each other in the face. So in the back, they must have gone up to the does Eddie Kingston know it's a work machine, gone bloop, bloop, bloop. And when the answer came out saying no, they're like, oh, well, we should just try and kill each other. So they did. It was actually Bryan that got the early advantage because Edward was trying to hit a bunch of chops here, but he missed at one point and he hit Rita the ring post. So hopefully he apologized to Rita. What did she do? Nothing. She's just trying to hold the ring up. Danielson also dropped his ass on the floor. That noise was horrible. When, of course, they got back in the ring and Kingston went, ta-da! He surprised him with a suplex, an exploder one. Now, the issue here is that Edward had hurt his arm at somewhere during this. This is when we got into all the strikes and the submissions. And then I realized, I don't know which direction this is going to go in. The wrestling secret sauce. It did mean that Kingston was able to hit this Northern Light bombs for a great 1-2. But this is when Danielson just started raining in the elbows, especially because, again, Eddie had a dodgy lip. He also got a tease back from Dynamite when he was able to choke Kingston out because Bryan went for that too. But I suppose in the weeks prior, Eddie must have leveled up his total HP. This time he was able to survive. It also just led to this great back and forth where they were just mauling on each other. And when Danielson was able to back body drop his way out of a bomber power attempt, he went for a running knee, but Eddie was like, nah, you ain't doing that to me. Instead, he killed him with a lariat, he dropped him with the bomb of power, and he got the 3. Honestly, I started doing the dance of joy. It was fantastic. Afterwards too, Bryan Danielson pretended he wasn't going to do the handshake, but he did because he now respects Eddie Kingston. There's also a video online between these two, and you should watch that as well. So it just ticked every single box. And who doesn't want their boxes ticked up? When all the smart moves continued, I mean, I tell you now, there was no 2 + 2 = potato on this show. And why? Because it was the scramble match, and Wardlow won. Good. He was also facing Dante Martin, Chris Jericho, Powerhouse Will Hobbs, Lance Archer, Magnus, and Dante Martin. I may have forgotten someone there. Oh, Hook. I forgot Hook. How can I forget the wonderfully haired Hook? And essentially, all the big men who like to slap man meat got rid of everybody else, and they just slapped each other's meat. Sounded terrible. It was Jericho who cut this off with a code breaker when all the other guys got in there, and I think this is when Taz called it a mini meat battle. And I was like, well, you've done it, Taz. You have solved every single wrestling match going forward. They should all be this. Hook is still my hero though, because even though there was all this nut stuff going on, he hit a double axe handle when Dante Martin was like, right, I have to start doing flippy dippy doo-dah and hitting all of the moves, including this crossbody. And yes, every now and then he slipped a little bit, but one, unless you ever get in a wrestling ring, you don't understand how hard this is. Also, he's human. And two, doesn't it make it more realistic that sometimes he would make an error? I mean, that would happen in real life, so it should happen in wrestling too. Powerhouse Hobbs then decided he was going to wreck everyone when Wardlow one-upped him because he was doing German suplexes, when Hook was like, well, you know, I can do submissions, and he applied the red rum. Ruh-roh. Hobbs and Jericho were then going at it, as well as Cage and Wardlow, because of course, once again, we have to get to the big men, slapping man meat. Although at one point, Wardlow got tricked in a powerbomb, courtesy of Dante, because he turned it into the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment. Surprise roll-up. Didn't work. It really was like ping pong though, because then all of a sudden Lance got taken out with a dive, when eventually Wardlow was like, man, I'm going to do away with you, Hook, and also Dante Martin, I'm hitting you with the power bomb, the big old one, and he got the 1, 2, 3. So again, this was the right thing to do. He is officially the #1 contender. I would make him versus Samoa Joe a television program as well, and look, if you want to have Wardlow win, why not? One day I'm going to be dead, just give me the chaos, I ain't going to sweat the small stuff. AEW just wouldn't calm down after this either, because the international title was then on the line. Look at me, I'm broken. It was indeed Roderick Strong taking on Orange Cassidy. Now this one has had some serious build too, and in terms of what the story was, it was like, hey Orange, we know you're a piece of fruit, but you do have a back. Please protect yourself. And Strong was like, haha, you've now given me a plan. And he took the word backbreaker, he did it literally. He honestly was trying to break this man's back. The gut wrench they did on top of Tina the Turnbuckle 2 is something you have to see, because once again, Orange's back just went flying into that, and then he went flying into the ropes, and I turned into Einstein here. I've been doing all my calculations trying to figure this out. I can't. It meant that Cassidy had to start fighting for underneath, and he hit a Stun Dog Millionaire from nowhere for a 1-2-oo, and 2 DDTs for another 1-2-oo. But again, imagine someone's laying on the floor, and you have to cover them with pressure. If your back is going, oh, I can't do it, you're gonna suck. Strong still had his plan though, so it was just back reversal after back reversal. And by this point, Orange was selling it like death, and I turned into his dad, which I guess makes me like a Satsuma or something. I was screaming to him, just give it up, it doesn't matter. There was a really good tease, because eventually Orange was able to hit the beach break, and he had the thing won. But the last second, Roderick grabbed the rope, and that's when you knew. Now, to be fair to Orange Cassidy, he did have one last Hail Mary, and he went for the orange punch, but instead, he got kneed right in the face when Roderick Strong hit the end of Heartache, and he got the 3. I was damn. He's the brand new international champion. We went right into heavy story stuff after this as well, because some random dude that appeared in the ring, I was like, wait a minute, flub me, that's Kyle O'Reilly. And they did celebrate together as they had a big old hug, but when the rest of the Undisputed Kingdom gave him a t-shirt representing the group, he looked at it, he gave it to Roddy, and he whispered something in his ear before he left, and I like to think he said, how dare you give me that? You know that's not my colour. So he was definitely torn like Natalie and Brulia, but seriously, a massive round of applause to Roderick Strong and Orange Cassidy. They are next level wrestlers, and now we have to ask the question, what is Kyle O'Reilly going to do? This was some good seed planting. So they really do know what they're doing, as do Claudio Castagnoli, John Moxley, and FTR. What an absolutely wonderful tag team match. And the real joy of this one is once again either team could have won, so I was able to strap my tush in and just go on a roller coaster of madness. I mean, it's a pretty crap ride, look at it. Claudio and Dax Harwood had realised though they don't get paid for the hour, so they instantly were trying to ring, and eventually Cash Wheeler and John Moxley tagged in. So you know the deal, it was just a dark night, it was escalation, escalation, escalation. Claudio didn't like any of this though, so eventually he grabbed Wheeler and threw his ribs into the ring apron, the hardest part of the ring. I was a bit like, well, that was unnecessary. When eventually they were fighting in the crowd because they can't help themselves, but the whole time, Dax had been warming up his hand, and he got the hot tag. Problem is, though, it didn't work at all, because he then got thrown into the ring post, and if you can believe it, he was bleeding, things just got serious. It looked really gnarly too, especially because the BCC hit a flipping double air raid crash. But I swear this accidentally hit Harwood's go button when he was all revved up. I mean, FTR from nowhere were able to hit the spike pile driver for a 1-2, and to stop the BCC, Cash Wheeler was then doing dive. And when the brawling started again, FTR went for the Shatter Machine, but somehow Claudio turned that into the big swing. when Jon Moxley was biting people's heads. What? FTR finally then did hit their big move, but of course the BCC broke this up at the last minute. And then when Cash went for another dive, whammo, he got punched in midair. And hands up if you want to experience that. Hand goes down. Dax was then kicking out of Death Riders because he had become Superman at this point, and it was brilliant. But this is when Mox and Claudio decided, that's it. You go choke him out, and I'm going to choke him out. And of course, because Dax was bleeding from his head, and because he couldn't breathe, his brain probably went, yeah, bro, I think we're going to die, so we need to get out of this. The referee realized match was done. Commentary also did a great job here because they were like, oh my gosh, Claudio and Mox had just beat FTR in their backyard. And given the location, that made all the sense in the world. And I kind of feel like we have to do another one of these. I'll tell you a secret. We could do 4,791 more, and I'd probably like every single one. But don't do that, make it a bit boring. Point is, up. I really did think this card was so well put together too, because who came out after this? It was Timeless Toni Storm and Deonna Purrazzo. That was meant to be the bit when I say the belt. I got it wrong. We were having all the fun as well because Mariah May started this being dressed up in Toni Storm's old gimmick. And she looked so much like her, I think the fans bought it. No, I didn't. I knew what was going on here. And if you believe that, you'll believe anything. When they got into the match too, it tied into everything we had been doing, because of course, Toni Storm thinks she's the better technical wrestler, but in reality, Deonna is. She was doing all that stuff. They were doing all the grappling and all the twisty-roos. Don't know what a twisty-roo is. It sounds like a snack. Storm quickly realized she was out of her depth though, so started to scramble to the ropes, which is when her crew too cast distraction. The referee wasn't looking. What did Toni do? She kicked Deonna right in the groin. Toni also smacked her right in the mouth, so Purrazzo leveled her with a damn lariat, and once again she was going for submissions. The poor Timeless one, you could see it on her face, she was genuinely worried. We also got the 1-2-oos, including one after the sweet cheap music. But when Storm went to apply a leg lock, Deonna was like, no, you ain't gonna do that. And she booted her right in the back. And Storm fell right into the arms of Luther. Of course, that meant Purrazzo was able to dive into all of these goons to get her kind of revenge. But when she was actually going to win, Mariah May was on the apron. And even though Purrazzo did knee her right in the jaw, when she turned around, she got hit with the power driver. 1, 2, 3. And I was like, seriously, referee fraternity, you have let yourselves down on Revolution. You don't see shit. We also need to do more teasing here because I swear Mariah was looking at that belt going, oh my gosh, it looks so delicious. So of course we will get to that feud soon. I thought this was a good match. It's not the best match on the pay-per-view, but in terms of what it had to do, it absolutely did do it. And let's make sure we continue to cook Deonna Purrazzo, not literally. She's got everything she needs. She probably should be a heel. Either way, up. And then, well, I don't know what to do. Because I could stand here and tell you about Will Ospreay versus Takeshita, but not in a million years would my voice ever be able to do this justice. Now, what I do want to say is this. As we all know, wrestling is about more than just the matches themselves. In fact, sometimes you can have somebody that is so good on the microphone and has such a good character, they can be totally crap at wrestling. Nobody cares. This is because it comes down to the connection with the audience. But when you have two individuals that can do stuff like this in the ring, I'm going to flip-flop on that statement and say, it don't matter what else they do, they are going to fly so damn high. But also, when it comes to Will Ospreay, have you seen him in his interviews? He is so unashamedly him. Well, it works too. So really, at the end of the day, they are both next-level talents. What I will do here is I will just run off a list of moves they do in order, and you have to remind yourself they did all of this in about 3 seconds. Hurricane Rana, Lariat, Superplex Senton, elbows, chops, dive kick boots, somersaults, German suplexes, Spanish fly, and all of it was effortless. Like, if you're watching this and you've tried wrestling yourself, you know you will have observed it going, well, this is totally bonkers. How are they actually making this happen? They also did this absolutely mad spot when Ospreay went for the Oz Cutter, but Takeshita turned it into the least devastating move in all of sports entertainment, the Blue Thunderbomb. Now, don't get me wrong. I hate myself for doing this joke. It's way unfair. This was absolutely incredible, but at the same time, did it work? Of course it didn't. Will eventually got the Oz Cutter because flub you when he also hit the cheeky Natos kick. But that is when Takeshita came back with a brainbuster and a massive knee for a 1-2-oo. I was like, man, I don't even care who wins anymore. This is great. He got even more nuts because Takeshita was able to get out of Stormbreaker. He hit a crunchy when he went for a German suplex, but Ospreay essentially landed on his feet when he hit the hidden blade. Everybody thought that was the end, and Takeshita kicked out at 1, and this damn arena went crazy. So I think we're far enough into the video, right? We're cool now? Yep, we are, so I can say, holy shit. because it just blew my mind. And you know what? I'd just wrap it up in a nice neat little package. Eventually, Ospreay did hit the Tiger Driver, which always looks horrendous. He hit the Hidden Blade, and he got the 1, 2, 3. But once again, nobody lost here because it was too damn good. We also found out that it's going to be Will versus Carl Fletcher come Dynamite, because of course the Don Callis stuff has to continue. And look, they're all friendly here. But let's be honest, is Will Ospreay going to leave that group very soon? Yes, he should. That makes all the sense in the world. I thought this was so amazing to see, though, that it doesn't just get an up, it gets a golden up. To the point, if you ask me, what kind of match is this? You just have to say, well, it's a Will Ospreay match. He now has his own style. It's flubbing ridiculous. Now you think whoever came next would struggle here for obvious reasons, but it was our world title match, Hangman Adam Page versus Swerve Strickland versus Samoa Joe, and they just came up with a great tale, so they totally kicked ass too. Prince Nana was also doing his dance with the backup dancers here, so everybody was happy. When the bell rang, Samoa Joe was like, right, here's the deal. I'm your dad, and now there's no consequences what I am gonna do to you. So he just absolutely broke him. He also did his nope spot. He did get smashed eventually, which is when Hangman Page hit a fall-away slam on Swerve Strickland. But because they were going at it like kids, Daddy was eventually back, and he slammed them together. He was being such a beast, eventually Hangman and Strickland were like, oh man, we're gonna have to work together. So they hit a double power bomb, which is when their eyes meet. And once again, it was just slap, 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 slap. This is one of my favourite feuds. Swerve definitely took a hard shot throughout all of this because he was bleeding from under the eye. This is when we got into the three-way madness, including Samoa Joe hitting a muscle buster onto Adam Page. And Swerve watched and went, yeah, you may as well do that. I can refill my HP. This is when he hit the house call onto Joe, but you understand what's happening here. Because he hates Hangman so much, he hit him with the house call too. As opposed he left it too long, he only got a 1-2. All the story stuff then kicked into high gear because Strickland was able to hit the 450 and the stomp onto Joe. But what did Hangman Adam Page do to stop this? He pulled the referee out the ring and he threw him into the floor. Now, of course, he did this because, as he told us 1,000 times, Swerve is not winning that title. But he was then able to hit multiple buckshot lariats onto Joe, and even though he had the match won. Well, surprise, surprise, there was no referee. And I was like, cowboy, this one's on you. He also ended up in the Coquina clutch, and I was like, well, you should have seen that coming, although Swerve was able to break it up. And this is when Prince Nana was like, use my crown, Swerve Strickland. But just to underline that he was a babyface, he was like, no, I'm doing it by myself. He was right as well, because he was able to reverse the Coquina clutch into the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment. So do you know what Hangman did? Before the referee hit the 3, he just beat him up. Genuinely funny. The guy is unhinged. They all then hit their moves. This really did hit a peak when actually it was Samoa Joe who was able to apply the Coquina clutch to Adam Page. And it kind of looked like he was going to submit, but also like he could hold on when he realized that Swerve was still hanging around and he went, you know what? I'm going to tap out. And as the commentators told us, did he have to tap out or did he just do that because he does not want Strickland to win the gold? So it is just great stuff, and it ties into the lower third that was on Hangman Adam Page's entrance, which was this guy has lost his mind, and there is so much we can do going forward, so much extra narrative we can tell. So once again, it's just a massive round of applause. Let's get it up. It also meant that we did do the right things because we got to our main event, whether you want to accept it or not. Sometimes, only sometimes, there are things bigger than the World Championship. That's what happened here. Now, I can't imagine anybody walking away from this without water just pouring out their seeing devices. And I mean this, it may literally have been perfect. I mean, there was this video that kicked things off, and even though we didn't have much WCW or WWE footage for obvious reasons, it still just hit you right in the tum-tum. Sting was watching this and going, oh, it's showtime for the last time. It flubbed me sideways, I'm already wrecked. Sting's son also helped him on his entrance because they came out as Surfer Sting and Wolfpack Sting. When the Young Bucks made their arrival, they were using the Codevator, and eventually, when Sting did do his big walk to the ring, he came out to Seek and Destroy by Metallica. Now, as a man who has a room dedicated to Metallica memorabilia, because I am a massive nerd, I was like, this could be the greatest moment of all of our lives. Otherwise, too, this was insane, mostly because of Darby Allin, but everybody got involved, including Sting's sons, because they got in the ring and they were hitting the Stinger splashes onto the Young Bucks. And fair play to them, they're not even wrestlers, they look great. Sting also applied a double scorpion deadlock, which got a massive pop, when it was he who introduced some glass. Who saw that sentence coming? It was actually the Icon who really ramped this up because he was going to smash Nicholas Jackson with a bat through the glass. But when Nick got out the way, it just went That was my noise of glass shattering. And imagine you had that before Stone Cold Steve Austin's entrance. I don't think he would have been a bigger star. All of a sudden, it was guns a-blazing, though, because they did brawl up to the entranceway. And not only did Nicholas Jackson hit a Falcon Arrow onto Darby through some tables off the stage, but Matthew did the same thing to Sting with a suplex. I did that thing we shouldn't do, but you can't help it. You're like, Sting, you're 64 years old. How are you doing it? Nothing, however, in my life maybe, will ever top what was next, because Darby had set up a ladder, and down below he had some chairs with some glass on it. He went to the top of the damn thing, and even though he was going to senton Nick through it, Matthew saved his brother, meaning Darby Allin, from all that weight up in the air, went smashing through the glass, smashing through the chairs, and just flopped onto the floor, and surprise, surprise, his back was just bleeding. Now, if you're a bit worried about the next time you're going to see Sting, don't be. He'll be back next week to participate in Darby's retirement match. How the flub does he keep going? Stinger wanted some too, so he got powerbombed off a ladder through the table. But oh my gosh, he no-sold it, which is my favorite Sting spot. He jumped back to his feet, and the Young Bucks sold this like they'd seen a ghost. This is actually when I got pretty damn sad. Like, man, I'm never going to see this again. He then got thrown through some glass, and that's when I was freaking out. But actually, this transitioned right into lovely jubbly stuff, because Nick was going to use the tag team belt. But do you know who saved him? It's none other than Ricky Steamboat. Yes! Ric Flair also tried to help, but he got double super kicked. To be honest with you, I could have done without that, because it scared the shit out of me. And when they finally hit Sting with the bat, he kicked out again. My word, I was so worried he was going to lose, I was buying every single one of these. Sting then totally no-sold some double super kicks, and he did the same thing after the EVP trigger. But the best one is when the Young Bucks went to do it again, and they shook his hand going, oh, thanks for the business, Sting. And Sting kicked out at one. And that was it for me. Water was just coming out of my face. It's like, I hope I don't have a medical condition, and even if I do, I don't care. Allin was then back, and I have no idea how, and he pushed Nick off the top of Tina the Turnbuckle through a table. This is when Sting was able to hit the Scorpion Death Drop. Darby Allin hit the Coffin Drop, which is when Sting locked in the Scorpion Death Drop, Scorpion Death Lock, don't know what I'm doing here. He got the submission, and Matt Jackson tagged out. And the reaction to this, I tell ya, well, I've said it once, I'll say it twice, I'll say it 1,000 times. It will get you right in the eyeballs. Sting also cut this amazing speech afterwards that was cut off on the pay-per-view, but who cares, because you can see the whole thing on YouTube right now. And I implore everyone to just sit down and watch this today. It's what pro wrestling is all about. Here is the deal too. I've been thinking of a way to coronate this in my own lame way, and ping, it came into my brain the other day. I already told you, this is going to be really, really lame. Because as you know, if you do watch Ups and Downs a lot, we have the Platinum Up, which is something you will rarely see, but that's the whole point. It's reserved for special occasions. But I enjoyed this so much, and it hit me right in the Tootsie Toes to such a degree. Not only am I going to give it the Platinum Up, but I'm also now retiring the Platinum Up forever. That's right, Sting is going away, and so is the Platinum Up, because as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't matter what else wrestling does, you ain't gonna do better than this. So yeah, there is the Platinum Up, and thank you very much, Sting. And I mean this from the bottom of my tum-tum. You have always represented the best of professional wrestling. The industry as a whole is gonna miss you very, very much. So we shall see you down the road, and I ain't even getting into an argument today about the Ups and Downs counter. I had such a ball watching this, and it was absolutely one of the best AEW pay-per-views I have ever seen. And maybe that's hyperbole, and maybe that's recency bias, but I don't care, because I feel great and quite sad right now. So yeah, as a whole, it doesn't just get an up, it gets the golden up. Now please do click the video on the screen, which is Ups and Downs for AEW Collision, although yes, I agree, that feels kind of redundant right now, but do it anyway. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe, but more importantly, get in those comments and share your favorite Sting memories. The guy's a flipping legend, and we all owe him a great debt. Otherwise, have a great day, my friends. Gotta try and wash this off my face now. I got a doctor's appointment later, and they're gonna be like, well, we can see the problem, unless they're a wrestling fan. My odds don't look good. Goodbye.